Thanks some friends for showing up today. You're very kind. Thank you. It's an honor to be here today. It's a gorgeous day in Los Angeles, and it's an honor to be here and to be in a place as beautiful as this, and in a state which has been an economic powerhouse over the years, has been a center of innovation and technology which has helped lead the nation. And sadly, as we look around us at this development, we see a development that's no longer going to be a development. There was a plan to put a $600 million shopping mall here, but the Valley Plaza development program has been scrapped in part because of the challenges in the economy. And obviously the challenges here are not all the result of the current administration. A lot of the economic woes that you're seeing around you and around the country are the result of errors that have been made over a long period of time. But what's happened in the last couple of years has not helped. The president is fond of saying that he didn't cause the recession, that he inherited the recession, and that's true. But he made it worse. And he also made worse the recovery. We're now in a recovery period, the economists tell us, even though it still feels like a recession for a lot of people. And that economy, the Wall Street Journal concluded, is the worst recovery we've had following a recession in America's history. The people of California have suffered and continue to suffer. Home values continue to go down. Housing values have always been a part of the economic vitality of this state. And the number of foreclosures, the personal bankruptcies, the decline in value has been a real burden for this state. And at the same time, over 500,000 people have lost their jobs in California since President Obama has been president. His policies have not worked. His economic revitalization plan was a failure. He told us that if we were able to borrow $787 billion, that he would be able to keep unemployment below 8%. It has not been below 8% since. And for Californians, it's above 10%. It's 2 full percentage points higher than when he was elected president. Now, some years ago, just weeks after he became inaugurated, he went on the Today Show. And he said, look, if I can't turn this economy around in 3 years, why, I'm looking at a one-term proposition. And I'm here to collect. We have to make sure that we focus our attention on getting Americans back to work, and the president should have focused every ounce of his energy on economic policies that revitalize the private sector, create jobs in the private sector, get people higher incomes. And that question comes, what am I going to do? Let me tell you.
Yeah.
There are 6 things. There's 6, I'll make it 7 things you have to do to revitalize an economy. One of them that's actually outside my 7 is this: you focus on the economy. What the president did, he came into office and he focused on cap and trade and card check and Obamacare and Dodd-Frank. Instead of focusing on getting people back to work, he focused on a liberal agenda that didn't work. What I do is spend all my time getting Americans back to work. That starts with making sure that our tax rates are competitive globally, that our regulations and bureaucracy are streamlined and modern and up to date, that our trade policies make sense for us, not just for the people with whom we trade, that we have energy policies that take advantage of our own energy as rather than buying $500 billion worth from other people, that we have the rule of law without people putting their finger on the scale of justice, that we have institutions that build human capital. We're a capitalist society. That doesn't just mean physical capital, it also means human capital. We need great schools, not those that perform in the bottom among industrialized nations, in the bottom quartile. And finally, we need a government that is committed to not spending more money than it takes in. Yeah. You can't have an economy grow if you spend massively more than you take in year after year. So that's what I do. Those 7 things to get this economy going again. But first and foremost, I would devote my attention and my passion, and I would draw on 25 years of experience in the private sector to help get America back to work. I'm convinced that if you want to create jobs, it helps to have had a job. And I've had jobs. And I'll use that experience to help America. With that, I've got a number of, you may have noticed, some people here from the press, and so I think it's only fair to let them ask questions as well. So with that, let me turn to you. Yes.
The man who took your place, Jamal Patrick, he's out running around the country saying he didn't do so well. That when he took over, the state was in a shambles, the unemployment was down, job creation was a shambles. How do you respond to his criticism?
Well, let's see. When I left, unemployment in Massachusetts was 4.7%. It's now substantially higher than that. When I left, I put in place a rainy day fund of over $2 billion. He's tapped most of that funding. So I'm pretty proud of the record I have, and actually I think the people of Massachusetts have the most to say about that, and so I turn to them. But I'm proud of the things we were able to do to help create jobs, to lower the unemployment rate. 3 of the 4 years I was in office, our state's unemployment rate was below the national average. And ending at 4.7, I'd like to have had it even lower than that. But it's a lot higher now. I'm afraid that under the current governor, we haven't seen job growth in Massachusetts. But look, I'm not running against the governor of Massachusetts. I'm running against the president of the United States. And he has not created jobs. He's lost jobs, 500,000 jobs here in California. And, you know, you can't, as a president, you can't control everything, but you sure can control your use of time and what you focus your energy on. And he didn't focus on the economy. He delegated the stimulus to Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid, and they may have had less experience in the economy than he had.
Governor, what do you think of the Gang of Six framework for the debt ceiling?
I've expressed my view. I think the right course is for the president to accept the cut, cap, and balance proposal that's been passed by the House. We spend too much money. I simply don't understand why the president is insistent on raising taxes at a time when we're trying to put people back to work. Yes. You recognize if government takes more money, it means less money for individuals, for families, and for employers. And if you're trying to get an economy going, you don't take away money from the very people that have to have the funds to invest and to consume and to get this economy going.
Mr. Romney, what about a lot of the controversy with collective bargaining and pension reform and things of that nature, and how that plays into the economy?
The question for those that didn't hear was, what about the discussions about collective bargaining and so forth? You know, I think it's very interesting that the states across the country, with a few exceptions, have had to deal with government employment and government compensation programs that in some cases have become too excessive and too heavy. And so you've seen governors, Republican and Democrat, Governor Cuomo in New York, even Governor Patrick in Massachusetts, that have said, look, we've got to pull back on some of the benefits that are paid to government workers and make sure that they're in line with what's happening in the private sector. That isn't happening in Washington. I don't know why the president isn't learning from some of the governors who have year in and year out, with few exceptions, balanced their budget every year and have said, look, if government employees are getting too much or if the burden gets too heavy, these governors are saying, let's pull back on government employment. And that's something the president ought to be listening to and doing in Washington. Let's learn from the states in Washington. I think that's one of the reasons why governors tend to make pretty good presidents. Thank you.
Governor, this location, the city councilman for the area thinks you're taking an unfair knock at his neighborhood. He cites two statistics. He says the current owner of the foreclosed property is planning to develop it, and he also calculates that $23 million in Federal Recovery Act money has been spent in this area of North Hollywood. My question to you is that a wise use of federal money?
I'm looking for where it is.
Yeah, exactly.
If $23 million has been spent here, I'm looking for where it's been spent, number one. Number two, there was a $600 million shopping mall that was planned to be here. That project has been pulled off the table. I'm sure there's going to be something done here. I'll tell you, if I'm president, there'll be something done in places across the country to put people back to work. Look, this is a wonderful community. There's no question about that. And there's retail vitality here, but at the same time, this is a place where JFK spoke when whether he was running for president or was president. He spoke here, spoke about this plaza as being one of the premier malls in America. Well, it's lost that over a series of decisions, not just by this president, but by administrations in the past. One of our problems in this country is that there are some people who are absolutely convinced that government knows better than people, that a free economy is not as good as a government-run economy, and they're wrong. The right course for America is to give people the opportunity to pursue their dreams, and that will create a vitality unlike anything we've seen in this community anytime in the recent past. Thank you.
Among them, cutting back on mortgage deduction, cutting back on charitable deduction, and apparently it's being well received in Washington.
You know, I'm aware of all the negotiations and the different groups that are putting ideas forward. I've indicated the idea that I think is the best one. I think this is very much in the president's hands, which is the president continues to insist that he wants to raise taxes. I think the right course is not to do so, but instead to cut federal spending, to cap federal spending, and to move to a balanced budget.
Governor, you're right.